Well, hey, Zach Zender here, serving in this video as your church growth ally. I believe, like my friend Rich Birch says, that developing an invite culture is the number one key to church growth. But I believe there's some lowest hanging fruit for church growth that we got to talk about. And so in this video, I'm going to share some objective data that I've found that will help you in what I believe is the lowest hanging fruit to growing your church. And so what is that? Here it is: creating a guest-friendly church. You see, the fast-growing churches typically see about 10% of their guests become a part of their church, retaining them. The average church is somewhere in the 5 to 8% category. But what if there were things that you could do to boost that to 15, 20, maybe 25% or more? Your church would be exploding. And I believe there are. And that's what I'll be teaching you in this video. But before we get into those 10 ways, think about this. From a guest perspective, it takes so much courage and boldness to walk into a new church. They could have been praying about this for weeks, potentially watching your sermons or your services online for a while, that they may have driven into your parking lot before, but just haven't ever come in. Like, it takes a lot for a new person to walk into a church. It also takes a lot from you. Think about how much conversation and time and energy it takes for your church to get guests to walk through the doors of your church. But here's the big question most churches don't stop to ask. Are we working just as hard to keep our guests as we are to get them? Because if we're spending all that time and energy and vision and leadership and money to bring guests in, then it's actually poor stewardship not to invest in creating a top-notch, guest-friendly experience for the very people we've been praying would show up. And so today I want to ask you, how guest-friendly is your church really? A couple of years ago, I created a 40-question assessment to help leaders in churches measure how welcoming their church is to first-time guests. And so it takes 7 to 10 minutes to complete, and I think the results might surprise you, and so I'll throw the link below in the comments. But in the assessment, you'll find 40 ways to make your church more guest-friendly. And the average score from the more than 200 church leaders that have taken this and completed it is 70%. So take the assessment and drop in the comments below what score you got. But in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 lowest scoring areas based on all of that data from the churches that have taken the assessment. And the point isn't shame, but it's awareness, because when we know where we're weak, we know where we can grow. And imagine if your church improved your guest experience by just 10 points on that assessment in the next 6 months. That might change everything for you. So let's jump in. And these ideas go from highest to lowest in percentage of churches not doing these things that could make your church more guest-friendly. So here we go. First is parking lot attendance. 78% of churches said they don't have parking lot attendance. So think about that. The parking lot is your first impression. It's the first moment where a guest wonders, am I in the right place? Where do I go? Will anyone notice me? A smiling face and a wave sets the tone. It says, you're not just welcome here, but we were expecting you. Second is this: giving a generous free gift to the guests. 56% of churches don't do this. But a gift reflects the heart of God. It becomes a memory marker of their visit. And let's be real, it's one of the easiest, most natural ways to gather contact info so that you can follow up well with that guest. Third is creating a crafted guest experience. More than half of the churches said we don't have one. And so many of these churches just assume guests instinctively know where to go, how to check in kids, what certain church words mean, how communion works, how to flip through a hymnal. But assumptions create anxiety. A crafted, intentional experience replaces confusion with confidence. Fourth is invite cards available weekly. 51% of churches don't provide them at all. If invitability is the number one factor in church growth, then you should give people invite cards. They use them, people show up, it's simple and repeatable. Fifth would be leadership reviewing guest feedback monthly. Half of the churches don't do this. And so again, if your goal is to grow, regular conversations around guest experiences need to become part of the rhythm. You improve what you consistently pay attention to. Sixth would be handwritten thank you notes for first-time gifters. Half of churches don't do this. But a handwritten note says, I noticed your generosity, I value you, thank you. It's a small touch that leaves a big impression. Seventh would be gathering feedback from guests. It makes sense then, the one we just said for number 5, if you aren't getting feedback, well, it'd be hard to review feedback. 47% of churches don't even ask guests for feedback. But guests have fresh eyes, that they see things that insiders simply don't. And most churches believe that their worship is welcoming, that their sermons are clear, that their language is accessible, and services are easy to follow. But after guest preaching and secret shopping at so many churches, I can tell you that is often not the case. And guests will tell you the truth if you ask them. And we need that truth. Eighth is this, 3 more ideas. 8, follow up within the first 24 hours. 43% of churches don't do this. Think about it. If we work so hard to get someone to come and they actually then give us their information, we wait? Why? No, quick follow-up communicates value. And I think sometimes we think that because we live in a world where our information seems to be in a lot of places, that people want privacy. But when they fill out a card or give you their information, I want you, leader, to see that as a hand raised up to come and visit me and to follow up with me. 9th would be knowing how to identify guests. 36% of churches can't identify who the guests are. Without a system to identify them, hospitality becomes accidental, not intentional. So a guest hub, a welcome gift, or clear signage to a new here space can make guests visible in a healthy relational way. And then 10th, providing shareable weekly content. 34% of churches aren't creating it. But today's guests visit your church online long before they visit in person. Creating consistent digital content builds curiosity, trust, and familiarity. It gives people a front door experience, so walking through the real door feels a little bit more natural. And so here's the challenge. Take the assessment. Look at your score, identify your weakest areas, then commit to improving by just 10 points in the next 6 months. That's it. It's not perfection. It's not an overhaul. Just doing some things that will give us some improvement. But imagine what could happen if your church became more guest friendly, more people reached, more people returning, more people meeting Jesus. That's the goal. Hey, if you found this helpful, not only would you take the assessment using the link below, but could you share it with your staff or leadership team? Maybe your number is much different than what they got, and that would create some really great conversation. And let me know in the comments below, which of the 10 areas surprised you the most, or which of the 10 is the one you can commit to. But friends, let's keep growing, let's keep learning, and let's keep making our churches places where guests feel genuinely welcomed and loved. Every single Sunday, someone walks into your church wondering if God still sees them. Let's make sure that they know that not only He does, but we, His children, see them too. We'll see you next time for Church Growth Ally.